Welcome to the Art of Succession podcast with Barrett Young. Join us as we explore the strategies, stories, and insights that shape the journey of leadership transitions and business success. No matter where you find yourself along the journey, this is the podcast where you'll find the tools to make it happen.
If you're like most of our listeners, you love the idea of running the show, but you're constantly second-guessing yourself if you're ready or the person for the job. Are you missing a key skill? Are you aware of the things you need to know, like reading a financial statement or financing the operations of a business? We are here to solve that for you. Our new free Ownership Readiness Diagnostic will rank you from 1 to 4 on 5 foundational pillars of successful business ownership. It is the ultimate confidence builder that will tell you, yes, it is time to have that conversation, or no, these are the areas that you might need a little bit more time to develop. If you're interested in taking that assessment, you can find the link for that down in the description below. Welcome back to part 2 of my discussion with Ben Baker. If you're interested in part 1 of my discussion, where we talk about Ben's experience in direct mail and starting his marketing agency, you can find that episode right here. Otherwise, let's get back to our discussion. That does relieve a little bit of pressure from me, because so much of marketing is you need to have a $50 or a $600 offer. You need to have something that's a small, easy purchase. But I'm thinking about, like, to my own purchasing habits. I've bought $39 Excel templates or PDFs or something like that. And then when it came time for the big purchase, went somewhere else, because in my mind, I'm like, no, it kind of pigeonholed them on those smaller purchases. But you're saying you just need to be known by the people. That decision might not ever have any kind of indicator for those 12 to 18 months that they're even looking at you. They've not signaled a buying habit towards you. But when the time comes, you want to be the one that 3 or 4 people in the company are like, this is the one we should go with.
And let's face it, your CFO is not going to go to your $50 webinar. They're going to send somebody's minion to go to a $50 webinar. And it all depends whether that information gets passed up the chain or not.
And that's going to matter if that minion's minion thinks that this reflects well on them.
Exactly.
And yeah, okay, gotcha.
But by me saying this, what am I risking? By recommending this new vendor, what am I risking? Am I risking my job? Am I risking my reputation? Am I risking my promotion? Am I risking my bonus? Am I risking being fired?
I want to shift into internal communication now, because a marketing friend of ours that did our website and everything, she works with accountants, and she said, she was the first one to let me in on this. Like, if you have a hiring problem, if you can't find good team members, you have a marketing problem. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like really good. Talk to me about your own shift to internal communication, getting team buy-in and, engaged in the mission and everything like that. How that insight first came to you, and then how you guys shifted.
Yeah,
the
this
company.
is going back 15 plus years ago. And the conversation is, most companies do a reasonably decent job marketing to their clients. They do a horrific job communicating internally. And that came from years of dealing with internal clients and the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing, seeing the silos, seeing the competitive nature within the organization, seeing, all of the stuff that goes along with that leads to the transition. I have a saying that says your brand is only as valuable as your unhappiest employee on their worst day. And there are so many organizations that tell a great story outside the company, and the people inside the company have no idea what's going on. And they feel left out. They feel devalued. They don't feel part of the situation, and they don't feel that they matter. And that really bothered me. And I decided 15, 16 years ago, something in that range, that it was time to bring internal comms into my, quiver. And it's expanded since then. It'll be a very large percentage of the business that I do. But I find that we as organizations need to be able to tell the stories inside our organization, to align teams, to build purpose and vision, and get people excited about what they do on a daily basis, and that they feel that they matter.
I mean, this is more than just HR. This is more than just rewards programs and recognition. It really is like, this is the marketing message that we have for our outside world, our clients and everything. We're we're getting them engaged in the same thing. I guess I struggle with this. So CPA firm, I'm the
Yeah.
marketing partner. I have a marketing assistant within the company. I struggle to get the rest of the team engaged in the marketing message because they're like, we're tax preparers, we're bookkeepers, that's not really our responsibility. Um, I guess where am I going wrong?
I think
How much of that is their responsibility? How much of
responsibility is
that
the
is
wrong word.
okay?
I think you don't want this to be an obligation. You want this to be something that they want to do. And you need to give them information that's easy to share and in stories that they want to share. Let's face it, if you've got a team of 10 people, each one of them on link if they're on LinkedIn might have 500 connections. I've got thousands of connections, but let's say they've got 500 connections. That's 5,000 people seeing a message if the LinkedIn algorithm allows everybody to see it.
Yeah.
That's a different story altogether. But it's giving them stuff that it shows how the work that they are doing matters to the company and how this is making the clients' lives better. So it's using the marketing to tell the story of your employees and how they're championing your clients. And being able to do that, because not only are you giving your employees reason to champion your cause, but you're giving the employees who see that, if they're tagged in that, or the customers that are in this that see this, give them reason to share it as well.
Because they work with those employees and they're
Exactly.
thrilled to see them succeed
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah, and their name is part of it as well.
yeah,
If you're mentioning client X and you're tagging client X in your LinkedIn post or your tweet or it's your X, not your tweet anymore, or whatever, people like seeing their name in print. People share their name that's in print. People, get excited to see their name in print and feel like, oh, what do I have to do to get that to have that happen again? And it's just saying that says, you know what? We were working on this project and so and so, so and so, and so and so were the leads and we came up with this new idea to do da 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 da. And it enabled our clients, our three biggest clients, da da da, to be able to, get a 15% return on something that they weren't expecting. And show the wins. And it's not just look at me, look how wonderful I am, and we're another CPA firm. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that, there's probably 50,000 CPA firms across North America. And I may be light, I might be heavy. I have no idea. But nobody cares. People care about what problems did you solve and how did you make people's lives better? And if we, through our marketing, can tell those stories and turn the people that are actually doing the work into champions and show how, because of their hard work, things were better for the clients, then everybody's going to share that. So it's not, how often you share, it's what you share and why you're sharing it. And the reason to share it is to show how wonderful our team is and how amazing they are and what an incredible job they're doing for our clients.
yeah, that's good. I mean, that's so much more than just, hey, we posted something, go and repost it on your profile. It's really, again, how does this reflect on me? Do I want my connections to know this about me? Does it, internal communication through transition, internal communication through change. How do you communicate? How much is too much? Is there such thing as too much? When the vision is, or not the vision, but the future result is uncertain. I've had people that I can over communicate on some things and under communicate on others. It causes some people to worry because they're not entrepreneurial like I am. They don't like fuzzy futures. They want to know certainty. So, how do you work through just the different audiences?
Yeah.
I can't not tell half the company something because it scares them and tell the other half something
No.
and not expect them to talk to each other.
Yeah.
So,
Here's a perfect example. This is going back a few. This is just pre-COVID, like a year and a half or 2 years pre-COVID.
okay.
One of my clients was a 50,000 employee company that bought an 8,000 employee company. Okay.
Wow.
And I said to them, I says, how are you onboarding these people? And I get this deadpan look.
We bought them.
We bought
That's
them.
how we're.
I said, how are you going to get them into the mission, vision, purpose, goals, bring them into the culture, get them to understand what differentiates the old company from the new company, how to tell the new story, how to get them aligned with the existing employees and all that kind of stuff. I got more deadpan look. And I said, okay, what if we created an internal, private, and secure podcast? And once a week for 3 years through the pandemic, we told the stories of transition. And we brought people on from different departments talking about different projects, different product lines, people from the old company on with people from the new company with similar roles, talking about how, what differentiated, talking about the HR people from the old company, the new company, talking about culture and vision, and bringing we brought the CEO on board at least once a quarter to talk about what was coming up. And the thought process is what was, what is, what's going to be. And what it led to was a 10% reduction in attrition, less than what they were expecting. They were expecting an attrition rate of X. We reduced it by 10%. Now, if we had done your traditional onboarding technique and we'd take everybody into a series of rooms and, put them up in hotels and fed them and, basically transport them in, it was going to be $2,000 to $3,000 per person over those 8,000 people. So let's call it on an easy side, $16 million. $16 million. We did this for under 3. So we saved them 80%, and they had a far better transition, far less loss. And they estimated that every employee that they lost, by the time they lost them, by the time they hired somebody, by the time they retrained the person, by the time they got somebody back up, to speed, was a minimum of $100,000 per employee.
Sure. And you save them 10% of that lost year and a half to get somebody else in that position trained up and everything.
Exactly.
So, all right. How do you do that at a smaller company? So not 50,000 to 8, but
exactly. I mean,
20 employees, and we just bought another firm with 4.
I
or
think
something
that
like that.
you need to have huddles. I think you need to have huddles on a regular basis, and you need to have leadership that cares about telling people where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. I mean, that's the same way you go through crisis management. The same way you go through crisis management is you don't pull punches, and you let people have the mic. You let employees have the mic and say, well, what about this? And then sit there and answer that question. Well, what about this? And then you answer that question. And you say, you know what? I don't know. How about we work through this together? Or I don't know. Let me find out. Let me get back to you. And a lot of it comes down to open and honest communication. And a lot of it has to do with being available. In a smaller organization, it comes down to senior leadership being available and senior leadership acting like they actually really care. And not just dialing it in, actually caring. And just say, look, you are new people within our organization. We bought this company. We didn't just buy it for the assets. We want the people who came into this company to succeed. And this can happen through transition of owners. This can happen with a merger and acquisition. This can happen through any of that kind of stuff. Is that leadership needs to be available. There needs to be an open door policy through the transition. And this could be 6 months. It could be 2 years, depending on how big the organization is and how complex the merger is. And it is, you have to have a culture of saying, you know what, we're not sure. This is new for everybody. Let's figure this out together and let's make this work. Or, you know what, I understand that that's what you want. Unfortunately, with our physical realities, our economic realities, our fiscal realities, whatever, we can do this, but we can't do that. Can you live with that?
Yeah.
And you may lose some people, but you can't be afraid to lose some people by being honest with them, because you will lose them if you're not honest with them.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my follow-up to that, is like open door policy. Some things can't change no matter how open door it is, no matter how many people on the incoming team protest against it. This is the reality. This is the person that's taking over the company. And
you do need to live with it to a degree. We're going to be open about it. We're going to be answer questions and concerns, but it's not going to change our mind.
Yeah.
How do you convey that without being either an authoritarian and just saying, suck it up, or being wishy-washy and actually giving employees the false impression that they could change your mind?
I think you got to just say why. This is why.
Okay.
This is why we're doing this. We're doing this because this, and this. And you don't have to give them all the hay in the barn. You don't have to go into the little details that says, look, we're a little fiscally short right now, and we may not make payroll next month. If you're going to make payroll, you're going to make payroll. If you're not going to make payroll, that's a different conversation altogether. That's a conversation you have to have. But that's not a conversation you have until you have to have it. But we need to sit there and say, look, we've invested in this, and this. There just isn't the financial ability for us to do this, and this right now. We're willing to do this, but we can't do that. How does that work for you? If it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. As I said, you're going to lose some people. Every transition, you're going to have somebody whose nose is out of joint, somebody who didn't get the raise that they wanted, somebody didn't get the few people were going after a promotion and only one of them got it. Somebody's nose is going to be out of joint. It's how you deal with it. And just say, look, it says the reason they got this is because of this. For instance, I was going after a particular client and they said, we're going with the other company because they're aligned with 3 or 4 of our other clients. It makes for a really easy transition. They not only understand us, but they understand our clients as well. And our clients speak very highly of them. Okay. I can't fight that. There's certain things you just can't fight in life.
Yeah.
And, you can be upset about it. You can be frustrated about it. You can maybe think it's not fair, but that's reality. And, you have 2 choices. You can either, as an individual, find the workaround to make yourself happy with it, to still within the organization, or you can go find another organization that's going to make you happy.
Right.
And that's your choice.
I'm thinking from a marketing's perspective, that's still a call to action, right?
Of course
It's a call to be on board, or it's a call to get off board. But
Yeah.
either way, don't just coast, like make a decision based off of that internal marketing, right?
Yeah.
And making it clear what the call to action is in either case.
Yeah. And it's tough. It's really tough because you don't want to lose people. You don't want to lose good people. But the thing is that if you can't afford to give somebody a 30% raise, don't give somebody a 30% raise, but don't, not give somebody a 30% raise. They leave. And then all of a sudden you realize it's going to cost you 40% more to bring somebody new on board because you have to pay market rate. Know what it's going to cost you to bring somebody on at market rate before you say no to this person. Because if it's only going to cost you 30% to give somebody the raise, and it's going to cost you 40% by the time the smoke clears to pay somebody market rate and bonus and maybe an HR company to fund it on top of that, you might as well pay somebody the 30% because you're going to pay it anyway. But you need, as an organization, you need to be able to have all that information in your hands before you go out and have that conversation.
Ben, we're coming up to the end of our time.
Yeah.
I'll give you an opportunity to thank you so much for the wisdom here. I do have one more question before I ask if there's anything I missed. But
Sure.
I struggle with you have to tell somebody something 7 times for it to sink in. I feel like that's going to be dependent on the person to some extent. And then I also struggle with, here's an issue we had last year. Our clients don't read their engagement letter.
Right.
We spelled things out in their engagement letter. They didn't read it. Then when they were confronted with reality, some of them got upset. And how much of that is their responsibility for not engaging with it? How much of that is my responsibility for not properly marketing it or repeating it? Or, team members that miss something, and we've sent 7+ messages about this, but they miss it. So how much of that is I, as the speaker, need to make the message clear in the place where they read it and where it matters to them, and how much of that is the responsibility of the hearer to hear and read?
Are you asking me as a lawyer, or are you asking me as a
Marketer.
Yeah,
I'm
as a
I'm
marketer.
strictly a marketer.
Yeah, I'm strictly a
This is
marketer.
not legal advice or financial
This is
advice.
not legal or financial advice. Because strictly said, somebody signed the contract. Well, that's for the legal department to deal with.
Right. The feelings, the upset is real either way.
But
so they
here's
begrudge
reality, and I'm dealing with a situation right now, exactly that, where a fairly large corporation sold us a television. It showed up damaged. They're taking forever to respond and to deal with this. And they're finally telling me that that it's going to take me. They'll refund the TV, but it's going to take them 8 weeks for them to cut me a check. Okay. Yes, it's in their terms and conditions, buried on page 37. It's buried on page 37. I went looking for it. And now they've got somebody that not only is never going to buy their product ever again, I will tell every single person that asks me how horrible they are as a company to deal with. And that's reality. The trick is, do you spend the time and the effort up front having one-on-one conversations with clients and highlighting things and going through the contract and say, listen, here are the 5 or 10 things and it might be having a one pager at the very beginning of your terms and conditions that say, here are the 5 things you should really be paying attention to.
They still didn't read that, but sure.
But the thing is, you may end up having to go through them and walking it through them hand by hand.
Yeah.
And that's reality. The question is how much of a problem is this on the backside? How much grief is this causing you on the backside, having to deal with people and say, well, I didn't read that. Well, you signed it. Well, that doesn't matter, because in the end, they're upset.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're right or you're wrong. They're going to walk away from the relationship either feeling that they're cheated, that you don't care, or that you've been deceptive and it's your brand at stake. And the question is, at that particular time, you need to sit there and say, how can I create something that's better that does this? Maybe it's creating a 1-minute video or a 3-minute video that's funny. Some funny video that goes over that say, hey, no one ever reads our terms and conditions here. So what we did is we created this video. It says, here's the 5 things that you really should pay attention to. They're on page 1, 3, 7, 5, and 18. You know what? I'll leave it to you to read through those, but here's the things in a nutshell of what they should say. And maybe you do that as something funny that you send to people, that it's a 1 to 3 minute video that tells them that story. Or maybe you actually have to, physically have your people sit there and walk them through it instead of just giving them a document to read. Because how many of us get a new piece of software, scroll right to the bottom, hit accept, and start loading it? 99.9% of us. And guess what? We probably gave away our firstborn, and we don't know it. We've accepted all slew of things that their lawyers have deemed to be important. And 99.9% of us never read it. And all that does is, when push comes to shove and they start talking about terms and conditions, well, it's said in our terms and conditions that blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. They just want their problems fixed. They just want to know that you're there for them, that you're taking care of things. So the question is, how do you come to a way to be able to sit there and say, look, we really feel it's important for us to actually sit down and go over the terms and conditions with our clients, because, we find that like you, I don't want to read 30 pages. I just want to know what the highlights are. And insurance brokers do the same thing. The insurance brokers just sign this, sign the stuff. And you couldn't understand it even if you did read it.
I mean, you would be there for a month if you had to read every document when you're closing on your house.
Absolutely.
It's like they plan on you just skimming. And,
absolutely.
Initially.
Yeah. And you hope to God, that you did it right. So I'm a big believer in this. How important are the clients? And my attitude is, are you selling them a 25-cent piece of chewing gum? Yeah. Let them sign the terms and conditions and fight, deal with it as it comes. They're buying a 25% said chewing gum. But if they're doing a $25,000, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 engagement, it might be worth spending 20 minutes with the client face to face, hand in hand, going over these things with them. But that's just me.
Yeah. No, that's good. Because I mean, that answers my from the marketing perspective, I always feel like failure to communicate is my problem. Like it's my fault for not making it important enough for them to want to pay attention to it. But so many in my profession do just cave and, back out of their own terms and conditions as soon as the clients protest it. But you're saying here, you got to find the right balance and then just say, at some point, I feel like you just have to say, we chalk this year up to a loss and part of marketing is experimentation, and we're going to figure out the 1 to 3 minute video. Like you said, we're going to figure out next year if we can drop that attrition rate based off of, engaging in a different way too.
And having that video on your website, having that video at the bottom of your emails, having that video, everywhere, that just so that way people can and look at it. Look at their convenience. Maybe having some way of verifying through IP address or whatever that they've actually watched the video.
Oh man. I mean, marketing, this is why I love it so much, Ben. And it's nice to talk shop with somebody who's actually does this because I'm learning so much as I go. But this is the part I love. It's communication, it's experimentation, it's adventure. I find it to be invigorating. And so I really appreciate you coming on. Before we move into the lightning round and wrap up our episode,
Sure.
Is there anything that you wanted to add that we haven't touched on today?
You know what? I just think that most people undercommunicate. Most people assume that people understand things exactly the way that they do. And we all come to the world with our own hopes, wants, fears, needs, and desires, our own biases, how we were raised, what we learned along the way, what we didn't learn along the way. And assuming that people think the same way that we do is a recipe for disaster. And I think that we need to sit there and verify with people, without being condescending, did I miss anything? I'm not always clear in what I say. It's just, it's perfectly clear in my mind. Did you understand what I'm saying? And almost making light of it and finding a way that makes it almost deprecating, to be able to give people the opportunity to say, you know what, I really didn't understand this. Okay, let's go over it again. I had a professor in university who taught me finite mathematics. And Ernie Cockayne, I'll never forget Ernie. And we're talking 40 years ago. Ernie stood up at the first day and says, right, this is finite mathematics. It's 100% final. You in the back, sit down. They're all 100% final. You might as well learn from me. You need to be stupid and lazy to be able to fail my course. One of the two are not going to do it. If one of you doesn't understand it, come to my office afterwards. I'm happy to explain it to you. If a bunch of you don't understand it, that means I'm stupid, and we're going to erase boards and start again. And one day he looked up, and there were 6 of us that all we sat in the front of the room with just blank stares on our faces. He goes, Baker, did you understand? Not a. He goes, right. No. He says, right. That means I'm stupid. Erases 3 boards and starts again. And we all need to have the humility to understand that just because we get something doesn't mean everybody does.
All right, I've got a follow-up. I know we said we were wrapping up, but here's where I struggle with overcommunication.
Yes.
What if the message varies slightly in the various times that I'm communicating it, and somebody latches onto something, and then they're like, so like I do a video for our terms and conditions, and something in there is not worded exactly as it is in the letter. And I end up, voiding or negating what's written by what I communicate. Or somebody asks me the plan 7 times and I tell them, 7 different variations, and they fixate on one of those things. And I'm like, you asked me. I was sharing at the spur of the moment.
There is no perfect for that. I mean, quite honestly, there is no perfect for that. We update our terms and conditions and we don't update the video.
Yeah.
It happens. We all of a sudden this video is just sitting on page 3 of our website and we completely forgot it's up there.
Forgot it was there.
Forgot it was up there. We put it up there 4 years ago, and our terms and conditions have changed. we need to have some level of caveat either within our website or that says that things may change, verify at time of agreement,
Okay.
especially when you're dealing with stuff like you do. Stuff that could make all. I mean, here's the thing. How do you do policy right now? I mean, we're talking. It's still 2025 when you and I are talking with everything that's going on with tariffs. How the heck do can you be definitive on anything when everything is
Oh,
changing?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, back during COVID, we were getting updates on employee retention credits and
On a weekly
EITC
basis, probably.
on a weekly basis,
Yeah.
and it was like, "This is what we have right now. We're going to proceed with this." Oh, nope, it changed. So,
And I think we
yeah,
all need to have caveats somewhere within our websites or our property that say, based on the information available at the time of the agreement,
yeah,
or something along those lines.
yeah. And I mean, that's why marketing is still a human to human
Absolutely.
thing as well, because you do have to if you do actually have trust in that relationship, then certain things like that are going to be
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah.
Not huge things.
Listen.
Again, not hiding it in the fine print on page 37, as you said, but my mistake. This is what we need to defer to, or
Yeah.
this is, yeah. Okay.
And you
I
need to
gotcha.
work with people.
Yeah.
You need to work with people. It says, look, that was accurate when I told you that, and unfortunately that changed. And by the way, I told you that changed because we had this conversation on this date. How do we fix this?
Yeah. Okay.
There is no perfect. We're dealing with human beings. There is no perfect.
Yeah. Because you try to answer all that stuff, and that's how you end up with a 37-page terms and conditions too, and it just makes it even harder to read and understand.
Oh, yeah.
But it's covered every single variable, so
Yeah. I
except the 5 that'll come up next week. So
I wanted to create a non-disclosure agreement that says, I promise not to tell your stuff if you don't promise to tell mine. My lawyers wouldn't let me do that.
that would get torn to shreds
yeah.
so easily.
Yeah, my lawyers, I sent it to my lawyers. He says, you're kidding, right? I said, no,
Yeah.
that was my aspiration. I know what wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, when I started my company and my pricing proposal was like a half a page or something like that, and as I learned lessons, it just got longer and longer
Yeah.
and longer. So, yeah,
Oh,
fair
yeah.
enough. So,
My
all
agreement
right,
with my accountant, I think right now is 15 pages.
all right, I have room to grow. Good to know. All right, Ben, I appreciate sharing this information. Let me pick your brain on some stuff. Are you ready to get into lightning
Let's
round
go.
and wrap this up? Okay. Coffee or tea, and how
Coffee.
do you like it prepared?
Coffee, hot and black.
Okay. All right. Pie or cake, and do you have a favorite kind?
Pie and apple.
Apple pie. All right, very good. Do you have a favorite holiday and why?
Oh, well, my favorite holiday is Hanukkah because it's 8 days long.
Nice. Very good. Do you consider yourself a morning person or a night person? And do you have a favorite routine?
I am definitely a morning person. I am one of those 5:30, 6 a.m. guys. And my morning always starts with reading through the news with a cup of coffee.
What is a common belief among entrepreneurs that you would want to challenge?
I would say that entrepreneurs need to understand that it isn't what they're experts in, it's what they're not experts in that should scare them. When you're an accountant, you know accounting. You may not know marketing, you may not know branding, you may not know logistics, and a variety of other stuff. It's all that other stuff that goes into being an entrepreneur that we don't know that should scare us, because that's the stuff that can trip you up.
Fair enough. And I mean, go in with eyes wide open is, I guess, your point. Willing
Pretty
to learn,
much.
willing to bring other people around you.
Willing to ask questions and willing to be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I see this in my profession all the time. Somebody who's a good accountant thinks that I can just go open my own business. And it's just
Absolutely.
like, there's so much more to this than being a good accountant. So yeah, fair enough. What's one thing that you would want your successor to remember you for?
That I made things right. Even if things went wrong, my goal was always to make things right in the end.
Where are you finding creativity right now, Ben?
I'm finding creativity in writing on a regular basis. I podcast weekly, I write daily, and I enjoy both.
Okay. Very good. I mean, I'll get to that. One more question before we get to where they can find your writing. But what do you have coming up in the next year that's got you really excited?
Right now, I'm out looking for next. I'm looking, to join a mid to large size organization where I can create an impact alignment and drive change and coach, mentor, and lead the next generation. Somewhere dealing with customer experience, stakeholder relations, and communications.
Okay. Very good. Best of luck to you on that job search. And yeah, where can people find out more about you, read your writings, find your podcast, all that good stuff?
LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to find me for everything. If you go to I AM BenBaker or search me under Ben Baker, you'll find me both.
All right. Very good. We will link that in the show. And Ben, again, I just want to thank you for being on the show and sharing your wisdom with me and the audience.
Barrett, that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed doing this. And that went really quick.
It did. It did. So yeah, we might have to do a second one, it sounds like. So
Always up
all right.
for it.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ben. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
I hope that you've enjoyed this discussion with Ben Baker as much as I have. Here on the Art of Succession podcast, we have interviews with business owners with their own succession stories twice a month. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can find the link for that down in the description below. If this episode has been beneficial to you, I'd ask that you please share it with somebody else, and you'll probably like this episode next. And I want to thank you for watching The Art of Succession.